Rapper YNW Melly, whose real name is Jamel Demons, back in a Broward County courtroom Monday as the state prosecutors and the defense are going over a number of different motions filed to see what will be admissible for Demons' retrial. Demons is accused of murdering Christopher Thomas and Anthony Williams, both childhood friends, back in 2018 after a late-night recording session, and then allegedly made it look like a drive-by shooting. His first double murder trial ended in 2023 in a mistrial after jurors failed to reach a unanimous verdict at trial, with twists and turns that included allegations of witness tampering, passing messages in jail, and alleged plans to escape. All issues brought before the judge today to see what would be permitted to use in his new trial. Demons faces a number of charges that include 2 counts of premeditated first-degree murder and witness tampering. And he is expected back in court January 12th on Monday at 8:45, where the judge will hear additional motions. That trial has been set for January 21st.
YNW Melly, real name Jamel Demons, has been locked up since 2019 while fighting a major case tied to the 2018 deaths of 2 of his friends. The first big trial ended in a mistrial in 2023 because the jury couldn't all agree. So basically, the case didn't end with a clear guilty or not guilty. It ended with a big legal shrug like, yeah, we stuck. And when that happens, the state can try again, meaning a retrial. But here's the twist. The retrial for the double homicide case has been pushed back multiple times and is now being talked about as January 2027 in some reporting. So in the meantime, another case took center stage, the witness tampering charges. And this is where things get messy, because witness tampering is not a cute charge. It's the kind of charge that makes judges start speaking in all caps.
This is how it can actually go down. Basically, the penalties for tampering with a witness in Florida are very serious. Tampering with a witness, a victim, or an informant is a felony in the 3rd degree where the investigation involved the prosecution of a misdemeanor offense. A 3rd degree felony is punishable by up to 5 years in state prison and a $5,000 fine. If it's a 2nd degree felony where the investigation involved the prosecution of a 3rd degree felony, punishment for a 2nd degree felony includes up to 15 years in prison and a $10,000 fine. Tampering with a witness or victim or informant is a 1st degree felony when the official investigational proceedings affected the investigation or prosecution of a 2nd degree felony. A 1st degree felony is punishable by 30 years in prison or a $10,000 fine, and it's a 1st degree felony where what was affected was a 1st degree felony. This is murder. This is the most serious charge that you can possibly have, okay? He could get life in prison just for tampering with the witness on this 1st degree serious double murder charges, okay? The most serious level of tampering is where a witness tampered with the investigation of a prosecution of a capital felony. He could be facing life.
Let's make it simple. Witness tampering is basically when someone is accused of trying to mess with a witness, like pressuring them, scaring them, bribing them, or trying to get them to not testify. Prosecutors allege that while Melly was in custody in 2023, he passed a note to another inmate, and that inmate made a phone call connected to pressuring a witness. Now, I'm not saying that happened. I'm saying that's what prosecutors are alleging. Big difference. Because legally, allegedly, is the word that keeps your channel monetized and keeps you out of a courtroom yourself. So with those accusations, the witness tampering case became its own separate trial, its own separate fight. And that trial is set to start January 21, 2026. Now here's where it gets interesting, because right before a trial starts, everybody suddenly wants to play chess with the evidence. On January 5th, 2026, Melly appeared in court ahead of the upcoming legal action, and the big talk was about motions filed, basically legal requests like, "Judge, don't let them show this," or "Judge, you gotta let us do that." And if you've ever watched court stuff online, you know motions are like the pregame warm-up. This is when both sides try to set the rules before the real fight starts. One report describes this phase as preparing for the next stages, with the court dealing with what can and can't be used, because in court, it's not always about what happened. It's about what you can prove and what the judge will allow the jury to hear. And speaking of what the jury can hear, the judge already made some key decisions. According to reporting on the witness tampering case, there was a move to separate a gang enhancement part from the tampering trial, meaning not everything gets lumped together in front of the jury. Also, there was a defense request connected to keeping the double homicide charges from being shared with the jury in this tampering case. But the judge denied that request, according to one report. Now, why does that matter? Because in a trial, what the jury knows can affect how they view everything. If jurors hear about bigger charges in the background, some people think it could color their opinion, like, oh, this is that case. That's why defense teams fight hard to control what gets mentioned. So the judge making decisions like that is a big deal. Now let's talk about timing, because the schedule is honestly the wildest part of this whole thing. Here's the part that has people confused. The witness tampering trial is set for January 21st, 2026, but the double homicide retrial has been pushed way out, reported as January 2027 in some coverage. So fans are like, hold up, you're telling me the side quest is happening before the main mission? Yes, that's exactly what it looks like. And from a viewer perspective, this is like a TV show where Season 3 drops, but Season 2's finale got delayed. You're like, so, are we going forward or backwards? But legally, it makes sense. If the state has separate charges ready, they can move forward on those while the bigger case waits. Now, let's get into why this witness tampering trial is such a big deal for his overall situation.
Excuse me, you're able to see? Yes? All right.
Some people online treat this like it's just extra drama, but legally this can matter a lot. If prosecutors prove their case here, it could add serious time and consequences, affect how people view the bigger case impact strategy moving forward, and even outside of court, it affects public opinion, because the court of public opinion is like the Wild West. People don't wait for evidence, they wait for clips, and because this is Melly, every update becomes a headline. Now let's keep it real. Social media has turned court updates into content, and people are acting like they're part of the legal team. You know how it goes. One person posts, Melly back in court, then another person posts, trial starts this month. Then the comments turn into a debate club mixed with a roast session. Half the people are like, free him. The other half is like, bro, let the court decide. And then there's always that one person who says, I watched one courtroom movie, I know exactly what's happening. No, you don't, cousin. Sit down. But jokes aside, this is why this story stays viral. It has suspense, timelines, court dates, and constant updates. Now let's break down what to watch for once January 21 hits, because that's when it gets real. Once the witness tampering trial begins, here's what usually happens. Jury selection. This is where both sides try to pick jurors they think will be fair, or at least fair to them. Opening statements. That's when prosecutors explain their story and defense explains theirs. Evidence plus witnesses. This is where the fight really is. What gets shown, who testifies, and how believable it is. Closing arguments. Each side basically says, this is why we're right. Jury deliberation. Then the jury decides. And through all that, you'll see constant headlines like, judge allows or blocks evidence, defense files motion, prosecution responds. Basically, lawyers throwing paperwork like it's confetti. Now here's the part nobody wants to hear, but we gotta say it. Once the witness tampering trial begins, here's what usually happens. Listen, this is a legal case. So in this video, you have to keep your language clean and accurate. That means prosecutors allege he is accused of, according to filings reporting, because none of this is a conviction just because it's trending. Trials exist for a reason. So whatever side you're on, the real story is what the court proves, not what the comment section feels. Okay, now let's wrap this up with the big question. What does all this mean for Melly's future? So here's where we're at. YNW Melly appeared in court in early January as motions and legal decisions were being handled. His witness tampering trial is scheduled to begin January 21st, 2026. The double homicide retrial has been pushed back significantly in some reporting. Now the next chapter depends on what happens in court, period. Because if this witness tampering case starts producing testimony and evidence, it could create brand new headlines that shape how people view everything else. So yeah, this is one of those stay tuned situations, because this story moves in episodes. All right, what do you think? Is this witness tampering case going to change the whole situation? Or do you think it's just another chapter before the bigger retrial? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Just don't fight like it's Thanksgiving dinner, please. Like the video, subscribe, and I'll keep y'all updated as soon as the next court day drops. And remember, the only people who really know what's about to happen are the lawyers with the paperwork.